Zoom in for a minute on a couple of those key items, and starting with the electricity transmission system, which we need to upgrade both to make in a continental market and to get access to renewables. Okay, so we have a problem already. We have a balkanized grid. It grew organically. We never got to the point of creating a true national transmission system. Instead, it's a patchwork. And you can't actually send electrons from New York to California. And Texas, as it is in many other ways, is totally isolated from the rest of the country. In a lot of ways, that's a problem. As we try to grow our regional electricity markets, we need to think about a national picture for all this. Now, there have been some efforts, and the next one shows one of the outcomes, a ham-handed outcome. And next slide, please. Okay, the Energy Policy Act of 2005 directed the federal government, the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, to identify transmission bottlenecks to start this process of national transmission planning. And one outcome was to designate the entire state of New Jersey as a national interest electric transmission corridor. Now, the states' rights folks are starting to scratch their heads and say, this came out of a Republican administration. Wow, okay. But anyway, I don't know how you folks feel, but I would rather that it wasn't the whole state that was designated as a corridor. I'd like us to be a little more specific. And so we clearly need to advance that discussion and have it be a civilized discussion. Next slide, please. This is one of the proposals to create a national grid that is sort of optimized for wind power. And the wind energy, a lot of it is in the center of the country and offshore, as we'll be hearing later. That's not where the people are, and we need to build transmission lines to connect them. This isn't only, this particular example is from American Electric Power Company, so it's an industry example. We go to the next slide. This is the wind resource for just the middle of the country out to the northeast. And this is the 15-year average wind capacity factor. So this is the Great Plains states are where the wind blows on a reliable basis, but it does vary. So in the lower left, we see the peak day when we get lots of wind, and on the right, we see a non-peak day when we just don't have any wind anywhere in the country. And so we do need that energy storage too. Next slide. This is an active, more detailed proposal that is being examined by the regional transmission planners, and this is to get 5% penetration of wind and to spend $50 billion on transmission lines. And you notice that they all converge on New Jersey. That's the Delaware Water Gap. We're going to have transmission lines marching through there, or we're going to come up with some other more elegant solution. Next one. Let's try 20% wind. That'll be $80 billion in new transmission. New Jersey is going to get the end of one of those lines too. So we have some serious issues about siting all this transmission and figuring out, do we really want it? Okay, I want to, next slide. I want to move to the demand side for the last couple of slides and point out that we have lots of opportunities to use energy more wisely. What I'm showing here is the way computerized energy management and control systems are entering the marketplace for commercial buildings, and manual controls, manual thermostats are being displaced. That's an important thing. We need to keep doing that. And we need that to be able to connect to a smart grid and to make renewables more cost effective. We'll be hearing more about some of that from other speakers. I want to go to the next slide. There is a second role for the smart building technologies, which is to communicate with the occupants of the buildings. If we get more feedback than just a monthly bill, we might manage our energy more wisely. And so we need to be able to communicate instantaneously with the people in the building. Next slide. We need to start thinking more imaginatively about marrying our electricity system together with our natural gas system, together with our transportation system, together with what goes on in our homes. And we need to think of ideas, integrative ideas like home energy hubs, like plug-in electric hybrid vehicles. So to close my part of the morning, I just want to sort of set out the fact that our energy infrastructures in much of this country are aged, they're obsolete, and frankly, they're overwhelmed. These are 20th century remnants, and they're not up to the challenges of the 21st century. Global warming, local pollution, diminished energy security and affordability, and macroeconomic concerns about the balance of trade. Specific things that I think we need to be focusing on are energy efficiency, and I think we'll be hearing from Kenny about what New Jersey is doing in that area, about reinvesting in our electricity networks, and that means both the transmission and the distribution systems, doing that in a way that respects our aesthetic concerns and and states' rights. We need to do all this in a way that isn't too dogmatic. For example, we don't need the soft path, hard path argument. We need to recognize that even if we are able to put district heating systems in every city and to have photovoltaic panels on lots of rooftops, we are still going to need a national supergrid to connect things together. Likewise, just because we envision a future that relies a lot on renewables, that doesn't mean we're not going to need nuclear power and bridging fossil fuels like natural gas for another generation to come. And above all, we need to keep experimenting, and we need to invest the resources to do good experiments. So I'll stop there. Thank you very much.